Welcome. In this video, we're gonna talk about audio analysis, and we're gonna do three main things. So we're gonna convert an audio spectrum to a top. Then we're gonna actually here we're gonna filter out one frequency or like part of a frequency, and then we're gonna build this base where we can actually get the kick, the snare, and the heads. So to start, we're gonna create a new file, and I'm gonna input an audio file in, and immediately I'm gonna do this audio device out so we can hear it. I'll just so this is the sound we're gonna work with, but I will mute it for now because it's kind of annoying. And what we will do here is we will insert a switch operator so we can actually switch in between different files or audio devices as well. So we can actually attach another audio device and then we can easily switch. That's it to start. Then we're gonna middle mouse click and add a mod. And in the mod, we're gonna select the combined channels and we're gonna average them. So now we have an average, so we only work on one of the two channels. The next thing we're gonna do is actually create an audio spectrum. That's quite easy. So right now we have visualization, this but we're gonna stick with the visualization. Then we have the fast Fourier transformation size. If you want it more, we can go for frequency or for logarithmic scaling. I think for frequency is more accurate, so this is actually all the frequencies, and in this scaling it's more spread out, so it's nicer visually, which is kind of what we want right now. And then we're gonna attach null because that's actually already the end of this network. And now we're gonna select a job to top, and in here we're gonna select fit to square. And so now actually we can see that we have wait, step one. Then step two is we want to analyze a certain kind of certain kind of frequency. So we're gonna go for the audio filter. Here you go. And then in here we don't want the low pass, we want the band pass, we want the frequency, we want filter resonance all the way up, roll off all the way up, and dry wet mix to 1. And then we can select the frequency. And so now actually I will do another audio spectrum so we can see it properly, because now you see that we have if we can select which frequency we want. And I think if we do an audio device out here, I can actually can hear it, so we can get only a very high pitch. We can do the low pitch. So now we can delete this, and we can actually get a matte top. I will middle mouse click here again. So this will actually be the gain. We can multiply it here. And then we will floor it. So actually floor. So now it's in between minus 0 and -1. Then we can do a logic that's actually off when 0 or less. And what we can do here is actually multiply it so we get something out of it. And then we can use a trigger. Okay, and we can set the trigger threshold. And then we can do a trail so we see it, what's happening here. And then we can also do an analyze. Okay, so what we want is actually, so now you see that we get this one frequency, and we could actually go more in depth. So on this one frequency, I will actually still do this audio device out. So if you can hear it a little bit. You can see that this actually kind of follows what we are doing. So here we have analyze with the average, and here we have actually our beautiful trill. But that's not what we want in the end. What we want is actually a very distinctive kick, snare, and hat. So we're gonna start doing that actually. And to do that, we will add audio spectrum again. But now we will set the high frequency boost to 1, and we will actually do more frequency instead of the logarithmic scaling. And then we can trim this. Okay. And instead of relative to start end, we can put in absolute. And I will start at 50 and to 300. Actually, I got this method not from myself, but somebody else of YouTube. I will link it in the description normally. And then I want actually to calculate the So first we want to analyze this. So we get the average. And then we actually want to calculate the slope. And what the slope is doing, it's actually the derivative of this one. So we can visualize it, and I will do that now with a trail. Here you go, and then we connect the second one. So actually, if we see that this goes up, we have a bigger slope, and if it goes down, our slope is also going down and will be -1. So if we have a constant, we can actually do this slope, and we can connect that. So if we put this to 1 and back to 0, then we see we got the spike because it goes down to 0. So again, if I move that to 1, get a very steep slope, and if I move to 0, you get a steep slope down. Okay, so now we have our slope. But what you want to do is actually have it go up quickly and go down slowly. And to achieve that, we're gonna insert something, and we're gonna do that by a lag. Like this. I will actually move all these over a bit to the top. So I will also connect this one. So actually, it's right now we don't want it to lag as is, but we want the slope to be clamped, and we want it to go up very quickly and go down slowly, so we get these nice spikes. And then what we could do is actually have a limit between 0 and 1 for this. I will actually disconnect this so it follows a nice order, like so. And then we're gonna have a trigger, and this trigger is supposed to be at 0.9 or something. And I totally forgot the clamp at the limit, because we will actually clamp it between 0 and 1. Like so. And I think in this lag we don't want the trigger to attack sustain, and so actually we don't want any delay. We also don't want attack. But if you look at the example here, we have attack, so we want that to be immediately happening. We don't want a decay, wants sustain time to be 1. And then the release can also just go. So now it's actually between 0 and 1. And if we trail this one, and if we trail this one as well, then you see we get a nice overview of what we want to achieve. So these are like all nice peaks. So these are gone, and then here you see all these kind of weird shapes are gone. So we have very clear image. Then we want to have a switch, so we can switch between actually the more organic feel. So this limit, and we can have the trigger. And then we will do a rename, because this is actually the kick. And then that's kind of it. So now we got the kick out, and I will try to have this as an input, so we can so can I so this is not happening. So actually we could move this in between. So 50 to 300 is 250. Let's say we want this one to be at 225 something. And if I will unmute, you see that this kind of